Hi guys, I'm back with part 2 of my I was wrong videos. So the first part of this video was a collab with the lovely Amy from Savor Salvage Scents, and I just had so many perfumes that I'd changed my mind about that I just really thought I should do a part 2. So let's start with one that I reviewed on my channel quite early on and have since changed my mind about. Not like in terms of whether I can wear it or not, but just about how the actual perfume is. So this tiny little bottle, as you can see, is a little bottle of Lovely by Sarah Jessica Parker. This is, I think, maybe her first perfume release, and it's still, I imagine, selling very well. So Lovely, I mean, it's so teeny tiny here, isn't it? But it's so cute. This is just a little screw top splash bottle that I've kept hold of, not because I wear it, but because it's good to compare things, and plus I just love the Lovely bottles. So the thing with this is that when I first got it and when I reviewed it, I was like, oh, this is just a sharp and woody and patchouli heavy, slightly screechy, florally smell. I wasn't even really getting much in the way of musk from it when I first got this. I mean, in hindsight, it's more like because it's like a fresh, crisp, clean white musk rather than a warmer musk. But I reviewed this in quite cold weather. I had it at a time of the year that was cold. And then when I retested it, when I got obsessed with Sarah Jessica Parker perfumes, and I was like, well, I really love her range of perfumes. Like, there's so many that I really hold in very high esteem, a few of which are like some of my absolute favourite perfumes. So I need to go back and I need to try Lovely again, which is, you know, I ended up, I think, with the limited edition one to see if it smelled different. But I sprayed it on my skin and it was warm weather, and I was like, oh, this is why people think this is Lovely. Now, I still don't like the woods and patchouli in Lovely on my skin. I don't think it suits me. It's not my kind of thing. But I no longer thought, oh my God, this is so sharp and masculine, which is what I reviewed it as when I first got it. This is a very pretty white musk with a patchouli and woodsy base. And it has that martini note in it, which is really tangy, and it is acidic, but the more it dries down, if you wear it in warm weather, the nicer it is. And I feel like probably some people's skin react well to this all year. Mine doesn't. This only smells acceptable to me, like in warmer weather on my skin. But I take back what I said about it. I do think that this is a nicer perfume than I thought when I first talked about it, and so I'm sure I've annoyed a lot of people with that review, but it's still not for me, but I can understand why the people like it. And I did actually give a rollerball of this to a friend of mine who is now actually buying a bottle and really likes it. So Lovely, I was wrong about her. She is lovely. She's not my kind of perfume, but she's definitely lovely. So here is a perfume. You won't have seen this bottle before on my channel, but I just got this little kind of, it's very partial, but I thought it's bigger than the samples and it's cheaper than buying the little 4ml bottles of this. So this is Estee Lauder Dream Dusk. Now, I smelt this in store. I didn't spray it on my skin, I sprayed it on card. And I thought it was beautiful, and I was like, oh, this is lovely. I barely even remember what's in Dream Dusk, but I was really taken with it in store. And I said when I reviewed it, I think on one of my What I Wore last week, so I talked about what I'd been testing in the shops. And I was like, I'm going to try and get a sample of this. I'm going to try and get hold of something. And I actually hate this perfume now that I have this. So luckily there's someone at work who I think will happily take this off my hands. But Dream Dusk, I thought smelt kind of pretty, and I think it was like musky. I don't know if there's like tea, or I don't think this is the tea one, but this was like just a really pretty skin scent. That's what I thought it was going to be. Actually, this is like a chemical nightmare to me. I actually find nearly all of the Estee Lauder perfumes, both in this kind of fancy range and in the regular ranges, to be really modern aroma chemically, kind of screechy, headachy, sharp. So this really, I was very wrong about this one. to the point where I'm like, did I spray something different in store? But I don't think I did. I think I just smelled it on paper, and when comparing it to all the other things I was smelling from the same range, it smelled quite nice. But when I compare it to like my own perfumes that aren't full of horrible aroma chemicals, the ones that I don't get along with anyway, this just really smells poisonous to me. So this, I mean, it'll be interesting when I'm putting the notes up at the side to see what's actually in this, but I find it really screechy and sharp, and it's got that kind of, you know, that kind of sharpness that's like nose tingly, and I really, really just don't like this one. I think it's quite nasty. So yeah, Dream Dusk, this little partial is going to be given to someone else who is going to appreciate it, because this is definitely not for me. So let's talk about something that I've said all the way throughout my channel up until maybe last year, that I don't like it. I don't like it, can't wear it. Jasmine's too strong in it. And then I got a dupe of it, because I was just interested to know if this truly was a dupe. And this was the same thing that happened with something else from this range. So I'm going to put this one here. This is Mamba Juice from Saffron London. And it is a dupe for Pure Poison, the original Pure Poison. I believe this to be a dupe of the original formulation of Pure Poison, because this one's been around for a really long time. So interestingly enough, the dupe of Hypnotic Poison from Larive is the reason that I actually got into Hypnotic Poison as well. But Mamba Juice, I fell in love so much. And I feel like it's like an equal mix of gardenia, jasmine, a real muskiness. I think there's maybe a sandalwood here. It's got orange blossom that gives this soapy, lotiony quality. But there's something really magical about it. And when I first got Mamba Juice and I was reviewing it, I did say it almost smells like there's like a cacao note or something in it to me, which is interesting. And when I'd smelled Pure Poison before, I maybe wasn't as used to kind of jasmine, and I didn't like orange blossom when I first started this channel, to be honest, and it's grown on me. But I remember it being a little bit more screechy, and I think that is the current formulation that I find a little bit sharper, a little bit more screechy, and a little bit more jasmine forward. But then I got this guy. So this one is Pure Poison Elixir, because this one does actually have a cacao note in it. And I was really interested, because I was like, I was already finding this one to feel like it had a very kind of slight cacao-y note in it. But wow, it is, it's so beautiful. I love both of these. I mean, for me, I would say that the Pure Poison, it's creamy and it's clean and it smells fresh, but it's also musky and it's a bit sexy. And I like Mamba Juice so much, I don't feel like I ever really need to buy a bottle of the regular Pure Poison. I think Mamba Juice is beautiful, it lasts, I've got compliments on this one, and it's super affordable. So I'm happy to wear that throughout the year. But Pure Poison Elixir is like a fruitier version of it, with a more obvious cacao. It's like Pure Poison with a slight gourmand note through it. It's got a bit more vanilla, it's a bit sweeter, it's a bit less kind of body lotiony. But it's like that one's for winter for me, and I still love Mamba Juice. But basically what I'm trying to say is I've been, the whole way through my channel, I've been like, I don't like Hypnotic Poison and I don't like Pure Poison. And now they are both in my collection and I love both of them. So I've definitely changed my mind about Pure Poison. Maybe this is a maturity thing, the same way that some people come around to Chanel No. 5 who never used to like it. But yeah, I mean, I just think Pure Poison is so, so good. I can see why everyone's been going on about it for years, you know. I was wrong. So now I'm going to talk about one that's not in my collection anymore, and that is Jasmine Secret, and it's Jeanne Arthez. Well, it's Jeanne en Provence from the Arthez group. So I'll put the picture up. That is a perfume that I reviewed when I was doing a haul, and I was like, oh, this is pretty. People compare it to Jasmine's Marzipan from Lancôme. But I was like, I don't really think it smells like that. Now, in hindsight, my memory of smelling Jasmine's Marzipan, both tested on my skin and on paper, was when I've tried it from the in-store bottles, right? And I found it to be actually very similar to Pure Poison, and specifically quite similar to Pure Poison Elixir. There's this kind of marzipan-y feel. It had like a sweetness to it, and then a jasmine that doesn't just smell like jasmine. They only tell you there's different types of jasmine in that perfume, but I don't know, like I said in my previous video, I'm really fussy about jasmine. So I was like, really? Really jasmine? Okay. But I feel like I think maybe the new versions of Jasmine's Marzipan is much sheerer. In fact, I'm quite sure that my memory of what Jasmine's Marzipan smells like is the original Jasmine's Marzipan, because then I got a sample, a carded sample of what I believe to be the new formulation, and Jasmine Secret does actually smell like it. So I was really surprised that it was kind of sharper. I mean, I've got to admit it, a tiny bit more screechy, but not like so screechy that it bothers me. It's definitely not as sweet. It's not as creamy. It's not as kind of almondy. It's not as marzipan-y. So I think maybe the new formulation of it is just watered down, not as sweet. It's much more of a freshie. And so I now would say, yes, Jasmine's Marzipan. If you like the current version of that perfume and you want to save yourself a lot of money and get something similar, then Jasmine Secret from Jeanne en Provence is a really, really good alternative. So yeah, I have changed my mind about that one. I think what I said was that it reminded me of the opening of Jasmine's Marzipan, but it didn't turn into it. Whereas the little spray that I have now actually does smell very similar, and it never really gets as sweet or as creamy as what I remember Jasmine's Marzipan being. So yeah, that one, I think that one's actually much better than I initially thought. So I changed my mind about that one. So here is a perfume that I was sure I would never be able to wear and I wouldn't enjoy, because I do not really like patchouli. There are some perfumes that have patchouli in where it mixes nicely and it doesn't bother me. That tends to be things that doesn't have any fruit or too many florals. And I think that's the magic of this one. So this is Lord of Misrule from Lush. An absolute, honestly, the same as I feel with Lust. A masterpiece from Lush. A masterpiece level perfume. But still at an affordable price point. If you live in the UK, I know Lush is a bit more expensive outside, but even so, if you're paying $40 for Lord of Misrule, it's absolutely worth every penny, even for a small bottle, and it's really strong and it lasts for ages, so you don't need to use much. But I really loved the shower gel of Lord of Misrule. My husband and I have that. We both use it. We love it. I loved the colour. It's bright green, and I always thought it was beautiful and sweet. I never really thought of it as being patchouli and vanilla. I just kind of thought it was sweet. I assumed there was like tonka bean, which there is in Lord of Misrule, maybe a hint of vanilla, and I get something minty from it. I get something herbal and aromatic and green. And then I was like, I love this so much. I need to go and try the perfume again. And, you know, patchouli and vanilla and black pepper is not really the way normally to sell me on a perfume. But I tested it on my skin in winter and I just loved it. And I was like, yeah, this is magic. The black pepper gives it a warmth. The patchouli is earthy and green. And like I said, I get something slightly minty from it. It doesn't smell, it smells earthy to me, but not in a dirty way. And then there's a beautiful vanilla that also has tonka in there. And what I love about this, and I think the reason it works for me, there's no fruit and there's no flowers. Or at least if there is, I can't smell them. Because I think that's where I often run into a problem. And I will talk about one later that I do actually like now. But at certain times of, the patchouli is a no-no for me. Whereas here, I think it's just so beautifully done. It's such a magical perfume, and it's one that I'm very happy that I was wrong about being able to wear, because I do think it's gorgeous. And as you can see, I have worn this a few times, but it is so strong. You don't need much. Same as with Lust, you only need a few sprays. It'll last you all day, and it's really, really a beautiful and special perfume. The nicest, the only patchouli perfume, the only genuinely kind of hero note patchouli that I imagine I will ever have in my collection. So that's Lord of Misrule from Lush. Let's go on to this next one then. Let's do it. this is another one where I've compared it and I've always said I don't like it. Like, this is a perfume I don't like. When other people have said I should try it, or if people tell me they like it, I'm like, that's great, but I don't like it. And then I had a sample of it and I tried it out and I got obsessed with it and I wanted to wear it to my Christmas party, in my 2024 Christmas party. So that's how much I changed my mind about it. So this is Elie Saab. I think it's pronounced Elie Saab, Girl of Now, or maybe Elie Saab, but I think it's Elie Saab. It's such a shame. It's so much better against the white, but I need to put the notes up, so I'm going to put this down over here. So Girl of Now is I was always sold it as being a sweet and kind of honeyed, syrupy, almondy perfume. I think it's like pistachio, almond, and like this kind of honeyed, syrupy sweetness. And then when I tested it, I was like, it's flowers. It's sickly, sweet flowers. And I was so disappointed and I was like, ew. Because I think the orange blossom here is super, super strong. I think it's probably got jasmine in it as well. But I find the florals here very strong. And I also didn't like the patchouli. Now, I still struggle sometimes with the patchouli in Girl of Now just because it is still... when it dries down, it's noticeable. You can really smell it. But in cold weather, it didn't bother me so much. Like, I could just deal with the fact that there was some obvious patch in the base of this when it was cold weather. I wouldn't be able to wear this now that it's in spring, even in cool spring, because it would make me feel queasy. And I think that all the other Girl of Nows in this range smell really chemically or screechy or just toxic. This is the only one from the collection I've smelt that I'm like, oh, this one's nice. This is actually wearable. But the reason it's wearable is I have become accustomed to orange flower and neroli and in a way that I wasn't before. But this one definitely, that kind of very sweet floral with the gourmand touches and then the patchouli, that can be way too much for me if I try to wear this at the wrong time. But yeah, I loved it for my Christmas party. I did get people complimenting me on this at work, and I do think it's really beautiful, and I understand why people like it now. But yeah, I didn't like this for quite a long time. I really had to kind of break myself into the orange blossom world to get over this. But yeah, this is really, really pretty. But this is the only one from the range. The original one is the only one that I like. So it's the only one I would recommend. But yeah, so that's Girl of Now by Elie Saab. Oh, let's talk about something I got super wrong. This is Hugo Boss Deep Red. Now, I was pretty sassy about this perfume because I'd seen people talking about this being a beautiful, sexy perfume, it being deep and red, and also people saying that it was like a good, affordable alternative to something like Hypnotic Poison. And I was like, I smelt it and I was like, you crazy. So I'm just going to spray this one out so I can remind myself. I was very much like, no, this is not deep. It's woody. It kind of turns a bit masculine to me, and I think there's some kind of synthetic sandalwood or cedar or something in this that really starts to smell a bit masculine. But you get the blood orange in the top, which is gorgeous, and I love it. And then you get a bit of that gingeriness, and then you definitely get more vanilla as it dries down. But people were saying it was vanillic, it was sexy, it was all these things. And I was like, no, it doesn't smell anything like Hypnotic Poison. But I am here to tell you that actually, once this had sat in my collection for a while, and I tried it again, and I tried it on my skin again, the more it dried down, the more it started to get a bit of that root beery smell, and the vanilla was coming through in a way that definitely has overlaps with Hypnotic Poison. Now, I still don't like the wood in the base of this on me. This definitely still smells unisex in a way that makes me think more of masculine scents. But I love the ginger, I love the orange, and I was definitely wrong about that kind of root beery Hypnotic Poison thing. I was wrong. I will say though, I think rather than this being like a good alternative to Hypnotic Poison, because you can get really good dupes, like La Rive do a really good dupe of Hypnotic Poison. I think this is maybe something that's good if you like things like Lontedy, because there's definitely tuberose in this. So if you like Lontedy Rouge, this is like a slightly lighter and less vampy version of that, but it's got quite a kind of, rather than the kind of patchouli base, it's more of a woody base, and it's maybe even more vanillic. But I'm actually taking this in to see if a colleague of mine at work likes it, because she really loves the original Twilly. And obviously, like, if you like ginger and tuberose, then I think this kind of perfume, like Hugo Deep Red, is going to be really, really good for you. But yeah, it takes a little while, but the more it dries down, now that this is sat, and I really feel like also it's a little bit stronger. When I first got this, I was like, I could barely smell it. I thought it was just not very good. And I just was like, maybe I've just got a reformulated version. But then this sat around and it developed for a little bit, and now it's stronger, it gets sweeter, and a lot of the notes I couldn't really pick up, I think, are much more obvious now. So yeah, that's Hugo Boss Deep Red. It's still not for me personally, but I can see a bit more why people were saying this was sexy and why so many people were really into it. And yeah, it definitely has some crossovers with Hypnotic Poison, so I was wrong. So this is one that I thought I used to like, that actually I now realise I don't like this at all. So this is Eau Rose from Diptyque. This is the Eau de Parfum. I have also smelt the Eau de Toilette. So I'm going to take this one out and I'm going to give it a bit of a sniff. This is just a little 10ml pen spray, and I got this for a bargain on eBay, so I'm not too bothered. But oh gosh, yeah, this I really don't like. So the reason now, it is possible that I did actually used to like this, but my hypersensitivity now to modern aroma chemicals and certain synthetics that has developed while I've had this channel, I think it's kind of changed this to an absolute no for me. So the reason being that this reminds me of the rose in Delina. Now, I find Delina to be real headache-inducing and screechy. There's something I cannot abide in that perfume. And everyone always says it's the lychee, and yeah, I think the lychee can be a problem. But this one, I think, is the combination of a specific type of rose that I've smelled in so many perfumes, and that kind of screechy, sharp, piercing, lychee kind of scent as well. This one I think is blackcurrant too. I might have that wrong, we'll see when I put the notes up, but it just is the kind of rose that gives me a headache. And I didn't ever think that, but I recently, because I got this and I was like, oh no, I thought I liked this and I really don't like it. So this one, I went and smelt the EDT a while back in Selfridges, and the EDT is the same kind of thing. Like, I just can't deal with this rose. So there was me being like, oh, the Diptyque Eau Rose, obviously that's a lovely rose. For me, it's not a lovely rose. I really actually don't like it. So this is going to get passed on. I'm not going to keep this. This is one where I bought it and I thought, oh, I should have tested it again before I bought it, because I'm a fool and now I've made a mistake. But yeah, so Eau Rose, this is not the kind of rose that I like, unfortunately. And I am fussy about rose, but yeah, the Delina style rose, no thank you very much. And then last but not least, we've got one that when I first got it, I was really confused by it, and that was due to watching other people's reviews of it. But it has stayed in my collection, so that would tell you that I do like it, but I was just a bit confused. So my initial review of it is probably slightly different now. The Glorious Amethyst from Lalique in this magical bottle. Fantastic bottle. So, I had heard people describe this as a basket full of berries. It was just berries, berries, berries. Some people had said that it was sexy. Fruity, like super fruity. And I just got it and I was like, what? Because I do get fruit from this, I do. But I get underripe fruit from this. I get crisp, acidic, sharp fruits. And then I get a lot of a soapy, like a musky, soapy smell. And truly, this smells like basil to me. There is a greenness here. There is wood there is greenery, but it's very soapy. I mean, it actually fully smells like a kind of rose and berry bar soap. Like, that's what I get from it. So when I first got this, I was like, I don't know what people are talking about. This is not sexy. It's not very feminine. It's not fruity. Not in the way that I would say something was fruity anyway, if you see what I mean. It was fruity in the way that loads of perfumes have fruit in, but when I smell it, I don't go, oh, berries, loads of berries. But what kind of happened after that is the more I wore it, the more I fell in love with just the general smell of it, and I kind of put out of my mind what everyone else had been saying about it, and I just thought of it as being a interesting fruity musk. But yeah, this one definitely, this is like underripe berries on a bush in a forest with the leaves, with the twigs and the earth, and then you've like just washed your hands with soap, and you've got a basket where you've been collecting herbs from the garden, and you're collecting underripe berries to, I don't know, make some kind of crumble and add loads of sugar to. Because this is not sweet. It doesn't really have sweetness here. It doesn't even have that fructosey sweetness. So that's what I mean. It's got a real tartness and a tart berry smell to this. And it's an all mixture of berries, but it's definitely soapy. And I think there's a kind of, I would say like a little hint of something a bit like rosemary, but mainly basil. And I was really thinking about it because when I was on my way home once from work, I'd bought some basil, and every time I smelt it, I started thinking about amethyst. And then as soon as that was in my head, I'm like, well, now if I just think of it as being like an aromatic berry soap, then it changes how I feel about it. And I can fall in love with it for a different reason, for it being a different kind of perfume. And fall in love with it I did, and I think it's beautiful. I really need to pull this one out and wear it again. It is actually incredibly long lasting. It's quite strong, but it lasts forever. Once I've sprayed this on, I don't really need to reapply it. And it's an intimate scent bubble, but it does last. And, you know, like I said, my husband likes fruity musk, so he did tell me that this one smelled sexy. And he likes this. He likes the bottle. He likes the perfume. So maybe, again, I get it wrong, because men do seem to find fruity musks sexy, or like these kind of musky perfumes quite sexy. And this is the kind of musk that I always describe as a bar soap style musk. So it's not like body lotion, and it's not like shampoo, because it's not got that kind of detergenty screechiness that you get with shampoo, but it's definitely got a soapy musk in it. Yeah, so I'm going to end it here. So this is my last video on my I was wrong. And I just, I've got a lot of things here that I really love. I've got some things that I don't love so much, but thank you so much for watching. I will link up to the first episode if you didn't see it. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and I'll see you in another video soon. Bye guys.